Everything we know, from people and ants to stars and galaxies to quarks and atoms, the entire universe, might just be a simulation running inside a supercomputer inside an even bigger universe. Ancient philosophers said that the universe is a dream that we're waiting to wake up from. In this dream world of the imagination, anything is possible. All cultural items, from the dreams of our rodent-like ancestors, to books, to television shows, are merely permutations of the reality we think we live in. Today's age of computers and video games places simulations at the center of our cultural consciousness. A select group of us perform simulations for fun and profit, and we call them games, role-playing and otherwise. We live to run simulations. Join us on the Simulationist Podcast as we explore our culture of simulations.
Hello, once again, welcome back to the Simulationist Podcast. This is the Simulationist Podcast. It is iteration 91, and
if we keep talking the same thing over, it'll be reiteration 91.
That's right, it's June the 1st, 2014, the 1st of June. Yeah, it's very nice outside, summery weather.
It's not dark outside when we're recording this, and that feels a little weird, I won't lie.
And, I did leave the window open so cars will get some traffic noise. Anyways, my name is Josh Sherlevin, and across the table from me, as always...
Counterpoint, Ryan Kirkby.
The Counterpoint.
I don't always want to be co-host, sometimes I'll be Counterpoint.
The other Simulationist.
But yeah, it's doing pretty good. The first of the month, however, marks it as being the official month for the release for D&D Fifth Edition. So those of you who've been counting down, it's no longer, like, so many months away. You're down to a fraction of a month. It will be released before the end of this one. And that's kind of groovy for those who have been waiting for so long, helped out with the playtest, and just been waiting. Yeah. Mind you, it's not going to be like all three of the major books are going to be released, in this month. In fact, the Player's Handbook doesn't even get released till next month, and then it's months down the road for the other ones.
Right.
But this month, it is the release of the Player's, your basic playing help guide. That'll cover you levels 1 through 5. It's got a nice set of dice for memorial value in case you don't have your own for whatever reason, and get you some of the basic rules. But for those who don't want to pay money, they have a free PDF for anyone who wants to download, cover you all classes, not just the core 4s they're doing in the basic set, and it'll be for levels 1 through 20. So, free material this month.
Yeah, well, that's good because I'll be downloading it for free because they have it. I'm glad they're doing that. I'm still hoping for sort of an open game license like they had in D20.
I've
D20.
Still got my fingers crossed for something reverting back to 3.0, 3.5 for style. I do like it that it is this month that they're doing it because this month is also Free RPG Day.
Oh yeah.
For your friendly neighborhood gaming store that you can go to the website, Google it up, Bing it up, however you want, Yahoo it. You can find Free RPG Day and you can see which ones in your neighborhood are participating. So, this month is like an extra Christmas. You're getting free this and free that, and it's just presents all your way.
Yeah, Christmas in June.
Yeah, that's how they advertise it too. When they do it in the store, yeah, Christmas in June, Christmas in July. In this case, it's nerdy stuff. I mean, you're getting this podcast for free, buddy. And then you're getting the next edition of Dungeons & Dragons for free, unless you want to pay for it, in which case they appreciate your patronage. And then, you're getting a free RPG from whoever else is willing to give you something. So, hooray!
It's a good world to be a nerd in.
It's a good first world.
Yeah, okay.
There are some places that are not as fortunate as us, but hey, so long as you got an internet connection, you get the podcast and you can get the PDF. And they're both free, so you get the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're not listening to us through some way that has an internet connection, find some way to let us know, because I would really like to figure out how we're getting to you.
Sure, yeah.
Inquiring minds want to know.
I suppose somebody could, record, put it on a CD or something. Yeah, put the podcast on a CD.
Or, you know, you got like
that.
one of those, homebrew radio stations where they're doing like the illegal, like I'm piggybacking on this carrier wave stuff, and maybe they don't want to play music. Maybe they want to have talk radio, like a pirate station stuff going on.
Yeah.
In which case, yeah, I'm totally all right with that. I mean,
yeah, so consider this your license, I suppose. If there's anybody out there who wants to play this on the radio for some reason.
I like to think I've got a good voice for radio.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, that's just something to keep an eye out. We'll make sure to update you as the weeks go on as to what's out when and what you missed.
Yeah, and we'll probably have more talks on just the meat of Dungeons and Dragons, I suppose, on 5th edition. Once we get our grimy little mitts into it. Yeah, we haven't been doing the playtest, but I don't like to do. I mean, I do like playtests a little bit, but also like I don't consider it actually playing.
It's more like a test drive for a new car. You're not there to really have fun. You're there to test the suspension, see how good everything works before you break it. So yeah, but enough about the official news for the week and the month, I suppose. What's been going on in your neck of the woods, Josh?
Yeah, what's been going on? Let's see. I've been mostly making my Minecraft mods. I've been still at it. I guess this is kind of is it the third week that I've been talking about how I've been modding for Minecraft? So
well, I mean, you're working with some very good stuff there, and you're going into Java, and it's not something you can just crank out overnight and just say, oh, I'm done with it now.
Yeah, at first I kind of, because I have had, like, in previous versions of the game, I have had, like, sort of all-night sessions, like, okay, I'm going to update every one of my mods, and I was able to do it, overnight plus a little bit of the next day. But I guess this one is just, there's so many changes, and I have to approach it in different ways, and there's a lot of problems that I still haven't been able to solve yet, which I'm sure someone has the answer, but it's very difficult getting answers online. Because, well, I get a lot of answers, but there are also some answers that are just, that lead you in strange places with snarky people, and I haven't posted like my own problems, but I will Google like the problem that I'm having in Minecraft. So like, oh, I can't make this block do what I want it to do.
Minecraft problem: wheat causes explosion spontaneously.
And I will find like, oh yeah, okay, somebody else did have the same problem, and then I look, okay, so did somebody respond? And then the next person's like, learn Java and learn to code, and they're not, it's not helpful.
I find that quite sad, because when I'm doing modding in Dwarf Fortress, the community is very helpful on that. They will go through like what's effectively page after page of code to look at stuff and go, you missed this one line here. Put this in between this sort of area and there, and everything should work out fine. Or they'll say, well, what you're having here is an interesting conflict on designating the genders. Here's the wiki for the website, and I encourage you to read up there and see what you want to do to make your change. But you're going to have to look at this first. So it's a very good community for that sort of thing. So I feel deep pathos for you, Josh, for your problem on that.
Right. Well, and it's not the worst problem to have, because the thing about Minecraft is it's this huge game that everybody, everybody, but a lot of people,
a significant portion of the population is at least aware of it.
It's one of the biggest games of our times. So therefore, there's a lot of interest in modding for it. So there's a lot of there's new people, and there's, just a lot of people doing it. So it's understandable that people get tired of, answering the same questions over and over again, or, some people don't know the answer. And
so maybe there should be like a Minecraft modding wiki? Well,
there
one
is.
Just for how to mod and what you want to look for, and some basic tutorials and troubleshooting problems.
There are a couple sort of like that. I mean, Forge is the name of the mod that all the other mods could sort of plug into, and
yes.
There used to be 2 or 3 like different sort of ways to do it, but I think Forge is the main one that most people use now.
It has achieved dominance.
But I mean, in like the idea with that is the official Mojang is supposed to be making their own mod API, which should make Forge obsolete. But then, of course, once that comes out, we're all going to have to learn how to mod for that. So there's another set of things to learn. But Forge does have a lot of documentation. It's just that every time Minecraft updates, the documentation all has to change. So when I Google for a problem, it's often I'll get several results that are from previous versions that don't work anymore.
I had that sort of problem with Minecraft. I wanted to put dinosaurs into my game, and I'm Googling up and I'm looking up, and I say, lo and behold, I find a mod that allows you to put dinosaurs in, and I go there, oh, this is the old 40D version. This has nothing. There's no way this is going to work. This is completely obsolete. I'm like, oh, there go my dinosaurs.
Well, you won't. Yeah, if you want to play it in your sort of add dinosaurs to the world you're already playing in, it won't really work.
Well, yeah, for when it comes to Dwarf Fortress, you basically have to regen the world, as the saying goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is kind of sad when you find exactly what you're looking for, only to find it's this obsolete because progress has marched on.
Yeah. Let me see. What have I? The actual what I've actually been modding. I told you about. I finished my weasels. They're all done, and I also finished the fur clothing that you can make from them. So you can make all weasel skin suits out of weasels. And yeah.
So you're not going to do just a little aesthetic mod to have minks and ferrets in there, so you can just change the color of it? And
no, I think I'm happy with just weasels.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why I picked that is because they're not a very appealing, people don't mind killing weasels. Because people, if you kill ferrets, people are I don't know.
They are vermin.
And minks is less... I don't know. Sounds kind of cute.
Fur is murder.
But people don't really like weasel. It's not a good...
if you call someone a weasel, it's usually not as a compliment.
Yeah, for sure. So the same weasel drops 5 different kinds of fur. It's the heraldic... I have a book on... medieval heraldry, so there's the different furs that they actually used in coats of arms and stuff. So I added those. So you can make sort of if you were to use my mod, you could make sort of coats of arms and sort of here's the weasel fur part of it, and you use the red or the colored wool for the other sections of it. Yeah.
I must say, I do respect you for keeping it as just one creature and not just reskins of a lot of ones. The one thing that's always got me about Dwarf Fortress is that they've got 12 different kinds of effectively the same, a baboon, ape creature, silverback, greyhand, this and that, and basically it's the same creature over and over. It's just that apparently the programmer really, really likes these little differentiations. And so, it doesn't really matter which one attacks you because it's the same size, same weight, will produce the same amount of stuff and acts exactly the same. And that's always gotten me. It's well, why not just have one and make some other creatures instead? And then he did. He made a whole lot more creatures. But, I do respect you for making sure this is this one distinctive thing, and I'm not going to create a whole bunch of things that are effectively the same thing, just with a little different look to it. So.
Yeah, that's sort of a design principle that I kind of keep in the back of my mind, although not always, but especially with Minecraft, it always felt to me there's one pig, and the pig does one thing, and there's one cow, the cow does one thing, and there's not even genders, there's just, cow, generic. And
weird, crazy, sexual cows.
Yeah.
That get horny from eating wheat. That's the only way they will go to breed. You have to feed them.
Yep.
And it's always weird for me. But I suppose it's for the best. Otherwise I'd be overrun with animals. Just I forgot to go kill, off of the excess cows, and all of a sudden they're breeding out of control, and the population's just bouncing against the walls. So I'm okay with that.
And I know there are some people who there are mods out there who people are well, no, I don't like that there's no gender, so we'll make bulls and rams and boars and all the
ewes,
boars and ewes. or isn't you? Yeah. Anyways, yeah, and sows.
Ewes, rams, boars, cows.
Yeah, and then they they make it more realistic, and then it's like, can we have breeds? But of course, that job is sort of never ending, because if you start saying, well, here's a goat, it's the same stats as the sheep, but it gives milk or something.
I wouldn't mind if they had a goat that's effectively a sheep, except that it also has a random chance to attack an enemy sort of thing. It's just butts heads. That would wind up getting them killed pretty quickly, because then they get targeted as a valid enemy, and then, the skeletal archer just makes quick work of them. But it would be funny and humorous.
Yeah.
Just to breed enough of them so that, no random spawning monster has a chance.
Yeah.
So, there's that.
Yeah, so modding Minecraft, still doing the modding of Minecraft. Yeah. I think that's about all I've been doing.
That's a pretty busy week, though. I mean, you get into the modding, it's just something you got to sit down and really get like a gestalt in your head and try and get it right. Because as soon as it's not meshing with your head and what you're writing, you got no clue what you're doing, and then everything goes all screwy, and then you've got bad code.
Yeah, well, I have bad code either way, so I don't want to have even worse.
Exactly. So that's okay. We respect that. You were quite busy with that. Don't worry. As for me this week, I watched some movies, because that's what I like to do. But the one that really caught my attention, and I'll speak about this week, is we went over to the Shaw Videos on Demand, and we're looking at the stuff there. Oh, hey, we get this stuff for free, and we can watch that for free. And it turns out I could have been watching The Legend of Korra this entire time.
Oh.
That's it. I'll have to wait till it apparently cycles through, because they only have 2 episodes available at a time.
Okay.
And it's 24 and 25, and I'm like, well, I don't want to start there.
Yeah, no.
I might want to look at a bit of it just to see if the animation quality is style and kept up, just so I'm not like, oh my god, it's so different. Mm-hmm. But I'll have to wait till that goes through, and along the way, hey, look at that, they've got the second Hobbit movie. I can rent it for 48 hours for $5. I got $5,
mm-hmm.
and my wife had never seen the movie. So last night we went and we watched it. And, well, she had, at the end of it, she had the exact same thought I did. It was, I want to see the next one right now. And it's like, no, that's the end. Now comes the wonderful song by Ed Sheeran about I See Fire and all that wonderful stuff, and the credits start rolling.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, now she wants to watch the next one. It's like the good action she's watching, because sometimes she falls asleep during movies. But not this time. She was into it. The action was enough that she was not falling asleep. So hooray! Yeah. And then, oh, that's it. Here's the high note. Dragon goes off to, spoiler alert, I suppose. No, I'm not going to call it a spoiler alert. If you didn't get a chance to read the book in the last 70 years, that's your problem, not mine.
All right, spoilers ahead.
Spoiler alert, Dragon goes off to burn and kill and destroy, because it is, Smaug is a living holocaust, and that's kind of what you do when it's your...
Yeah.
Your profession. Yep, and then it ends, sort of thing. It's like, I guess you got to wait till the end of the year, which is half as bad for her as it is for me, because I saw it in January, and I really want to see that third movie.
Yeah, well, I want to see it too, and it's funny because we can read the book, so we know what happens, but we want to see it on screen for some reason.
Because it's a very well done movie.
Yeah.
And Peter Jackson really knows how to shoot a good action scene. I'll give him that. If you don't like him for anything else, he knows how to shoot an action scene. Keep the suspense up, and it's not jittery, camera everywhere, damn you, Bourne Identity.
Right.
But as it turns out, my wife also has a different rating system than me and you, Josh. We give things 13 out of 13 dwarfs. She gives it one pretty elf boy out of one pretty elf boy. Because as soon as Legolas showed up, she was actually applauding and clapping and all that, and I was like, oh yay!
Did she know Legolas was going to be on?
No. So it's like a complete wonderful surprise. It's like, oh, there's dwarves and they're doing stuff in the woods, and all of a sudden, oh, it's my elf. So yay! She was quite happy about that.
Yeah.
But I noticed something when I was watching the movie this time that skipped me when I read it and the first time I watched it.
All right.
Now, they mentioned that, Thorin's grandfather had, he got so greedy it became like a mental disorder for him. He got crazy about the gold, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it was just a pure like mental disorder. I think there was something about the gold. Because I noticed Smaug, as he's going there, it's like, I won't let you have any of this, not a single coin. That's pretty greedy. No, we take that as being like, oh, well, it's a dragon. Of course, dragon sleeps with like a pile of gold and all that. But we think a dragon sleeps on a pile of gold because of stuff like the Hobbit. And it occurred to me like what if it's not supposed to be dragon sleeps on large pile of gold? What if it's just dragon sleeps for a while? What if the gold is what drew him in to Mount Erebor and the dwarf and stuff? What if the gold is cursed to attract the greedy and make them want to hoard it all the more? It's the mountain's revenge for being hollowed out inside by these dang dwarves.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that's a theory.
That's the thing is, you look at the hoard of gold when Bilbo's walking around there, and it's a ski hill worth of gold, most of it in coins, and that's
it's a lot of gold.
That's nuts. And I'm assuming the actual thing, the infrastructure underlying it all is working as such that it's not really all that deep at the one end. It's not like Scrooge, McDuck's money bin level deep at the one side, and it's just shallow at the other end.
Right.
I'll have to check it out in the end of the third movie and see if I can notice, as they're scooping it away, whether or not it is, just a triangle worth of like a ski hill of gold coins. But that's the thing is most of it's in gold coins, which if you're trying to keep the value of gold, you're not going to do. Because if you make so many gold coins, you're supposed to be putting them out into circulation. That's why you have them in coin format.
Yeah.
But if you have that many gold coins, the value of gold drops because there's so many of them in circulation. This isn't like, this coin, represents the value of so much gold, return it for your, like this much gold deposit sort of thing, like effectively most currencies were before they got off the gold standard.
Right.
And so, if you have that many gold coins, that's not a smart move. Now, the dwarves were known for their craftsmanship, or craftsdwarfship, in this case. Because man is for human and all that fun stuff, right? So Thorin's grandfather would have had to have been really sick in the head to have not turned these into wonderful, sculptures, works of art, spent a little gold to get in some other stuff you can't find in one mountain, and you wind up doing like a gold, silver, electrum statues and stuff like this and all that, and diversify his riches.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he decided to keep them all, almost all of it as coins. Like you see Bilbo looking around, there's like, some golden plates, because, you want to eat off stuff, and some golden cups so you can drink out of it. And, hey, look, there's a candelabra there, but most of it, by volume, is the coins. And so it got to me, the thought is I think the gold pile of Erebor, the wonderful hoard, is cursed in somewhat a similar manner to the One Ring.
Okay.
Because you get the One Ring, and all of a sudden it's your precious, and you'll be like Bilbo, and you'll freaking hack the hell out of my spider just because it's too close to your ring, and you go bug nut over it. And, you hear about this giant pile of gold and all the riches that the dwarves have, and you're a dragon, you go in there, you kill and eat as much as you can for the dwarves, and then you pile all the gold up, sort of thing. It's your precious. Sort of thing. It attracted Thorin. It changed his personality. If you pay attention in the movie, he's leaving people behind. It's like, I'm not going to risk the success of this operation for one dwarf, for one burglar. He doesn't care about anything. And it's something that Bjorn actually mentioned about dwarves. He's, I hate dwarves, as he's pouring them drinks, because apparently he hates them, but he's still a very good host. Say what you want about him as a giant ravening black bear. When he's a person, he's a very good host, and he will serve people he hates. So, good on him. But he says, he hates dwarves. They are greedy, and they are blind to those who they think are lesser than them. And so Thorin's greed about to, the Arkenstone was what he was apparently trying to go for, but I think there was something about the gold itself, the huge piles of gold. And right. So, he became blind to the value and worth of others. He says, it's like, I'm not going to risk the, success of this operation over one burglar. Bilbo doesn't even have a name for, according to him at that point. He's so into it, he's I don't want to use the term dehumanized him into a role. He's de-hobbitized him. He's reduced his value from that of a living person to just a profession and something to help him out. The gold's getting into his head. He hasn't even seen the gold yet, and yet it's still into his mind. That gold was cursed. I think that Tolkien meant for it to be that way the entire time. I think it was a very, very subtly, very wonderfully written thing about like the nature of hoarded wealth. When you can make an argument about that stuff today, it's if you want to be a good rich person, you got to circulate your money through. You can't just be sitting on the whole stuff in the bank, getting your 1.5% interest rate or whatever they give rich people. They probably give rich people a better interest rate than us.
Right.
But and so I think it was Tolkien's way of saying, okay, being rich is fine, yeah, be rich, but you don't circulate it, you don't hoard it, you circulate it out, and that's the good wealth. It's only when it accumulates, I guess, like plaque on your soul or something, that it really starts degrading you out. And so this struck me as like, if this is what the intent was, that was masterfully played, because you see the Hobbit with the ring, and then you get that nice little music they play whenever you're staring at the one ring, and it's like, my precious. This gold pile was done much more subtly, and it's all laid out there. All the pieces of the puzzle are there, and all you have to do is realize you're looking at a puzzle to put everything together. Bam! It blew my mind watching this, which is nice because sometimes when you watch a movie again for the second time, it's like, yeah, okay, I've seen this. Get to the good action scene. Okay, next action scene, I've seen all this. No, something caught my attention. Something that made me look at it again a different way, a little bit more unique, a little bit more, just in what they're saying, what they're doing as well. And so that's what got my eye this week. Cursed gold.
Yeah, well, and the difference, okay, so you're drawing a parallel between the gold and the One Ring that Sauron made. Now, the difference is Sauron made a One Ring, and he specifically, he's a wizard, or
he
whatever.
Pumped that ring just full of his energy. And the majority of his essence, they say, and that's why he survives even after getting his arse handed to him at the big battle.
So he did that sort of with intent. And then, so the difference being that if there was any intent with the gold, it would be unconscious, because it's the dwarves sort of doing their thing, and if your theory is correct about him hoarding, I think he did that to some extent, then yeah, it's an unconscious act on the part of the dwarves to curse the gold, not rather than intentional.
It could be cursed by circumstance.
Yeah.
All greedy things hearing about the magnificent wealth of the dwarves of Erebor will wind up effectively having it curse their minds. That said, you could look at it a bit more mystical, because, this is, Middle Earth. They got names for every freaking rock and tree, it seems, right?
Yeah.
What if the curse was like the revenge of Mount Erebor for being hollowed out by all these greedy dwarves? Like, you've heard Montezuma's revenge. This is, Mountain Zuma's revenge.
Well, that's cool.
complete speculation sort of thing. That might not be bad for a story if you're doing that in a novel or campaign yourself. But
yeah, if you're writing your own story, I think that would be really cool, because they have the spirit of the mountain and things like that, and they
and
get
that's
angry.
the thing. It's Middle Earth. That's that's a very real possibility.
Yeah. But Smaug was not. It's funny because Smaug is alien to the mountain, or at least he seems like that, because he comes from the north. He's not related to that. He doesn't spring out of, the cursed gold or anything. Although he's drawn to it, so there's something, and he is.
It's the cheese in the mousetrap that lures the mice in.
Yeah. And I don't recall. There might be something written somewhere about what actually why Smaug picked these particular time.
He was one of the greatest dragons. It's one of the richest places on Middle Earth.
Yeah. Why
don't you kill everyone there and take their stuff? Were you going to just go keep knocking over little peasant huts and villages there? No, you are one of the last of the four-legged dragons, because Tolkien had two-legged dragons and four-legged dragons, and four-legged was apparently better. I don't know why. But he's huge. He's a fire-breathing dragon. He's got 4 legs and a pair of wings. He is the pinnacle of dragonhood. If he wants to lair somewhere, it better be in, like the penthouse of, mountainous places.
Yeah, so I wonder how a dragon levels up. Do they just sort of get older and gradually kill more and more things and just eat and eat and eat until they get big enough that he's like, okay, I think I'm powerful enough. I'll take on the most powerful dwarf kingdom in the world.
I don't think dragons really need to eat. Because if we want to apply stuff like, metabolism to a creature like a dragon, everything breaks down really, really quickly.
Well, because you'd have to produce enormous amounts of energy.
Just to breathe the fire, let alone to survive how long was he sleeping in there after he killed the dwarves? You can gorge and then, crash, because, it's Thanksgiving, right? Eat as much food as you can, then fall asleep.
Yeah, but he was sleeping for, 30 years or something like that?
He was sleeping for a dang long time. Anything over, a year is probably beyond the realm of plausibility. Because large creatures like that, contrary to popular belief, do not go into, hibernation. Bears do not hibernate. They go into what's known as a carnivore lethargy. So if you're, hiking around in the woods in winter and you go into a cave and, there's a bear there sleeping, and you go, it'll be okay. He's in hibernation. I'll be fine. No, he's just sleeping. And if you make enough noise, he will wake up, eat, and kill you. Maybe not in that order. Hopefully not in that order. But no, it's not like he's in some sort of completely tranked out, on tryptophan, bear-based tryptophans or anything. No, he's basically just sleeping with a huge amount of calories stored up.
Yeah.
So Smaug is well, Smaug must have been in there for a while, because I remember in the book them talking about he's grown since he was there last. There are smaller passages he can no longer fit in. So as bad as he was when he killed all the dwarves in there that didn't, escape in time, he's bigger and badder by the time he leaves out the front gate.
Well, doesn't he eat goblins too, from time to time? And sort of, I guess, he sort of disappeared for a while, and that's why the dwarves think they can take on the quest, because they're like, nobody's heard from him in a while.
Maybe they were applying, like these real world biological, limitations. No one's heard from him for 30 years. He can't be eating enough there, because if he was, look at his size. If he's eating enough, the countryside would be able to report these missing everythings.
Yeah.
So he must be dead. I guess he choked on a gold coin in his sleep.
But what else might happen is he might be, because how Sauron was trying to make an alliance with the dragon. This is also more speculation. But what could have happened is Sauron could have been sending goblins to Erebor so that the dragon didn't have to leave, and he could just eat the goblins at home, sort of a pizza delivery kind of.
30 goblins or it's free.
Yeah.
I don't know. In that case, you'd have a large goblin-based association with going in there and effective, sacrifice for the dragon. And they never seem to mention that. It was always this mountain is absolutely horrible because there's a sleeping dragon in there, dang it. But they never said anything about the countryside. And you got people living, in the lake town there, and they're doing about okay, I suppose.
Yeah,
but not as good as they used to be.
They do mention more increased goblin activity, and that's one of the.
But that was all
plots.
over the place. Increased goblin activity. The green wood is now mistwood, sort of thing, mirkwood, and things are basically just going to pot everywhere. So that's kind of well, I suppose if a rising tide floats all boats, then a lowering tide leaves all boats stranded, sort of thing. This is the lowering tide.
Sure. Okay, yeah.
Where misfortune's going everywhere, and goblins and orcs are just running around doing crazy, stupid things, because, that's what they tend to do. So I don't know, because there would have been something mentioned, there's goblins coming in here every freaking week. They're not going out, so I don't know how many goblins are sitting in Erebor, but there's, goblins every dang week. So yeah, I'm assuming he just slept and slept and slept, and because dragons don't need to eat, he just grew bigger because he got older. But I believe with dragons, I think they're their own worst enemy, sort of thing. They're their own self-limiter. They will keep fighting and killing things because they're effectively like siege engines built by was it Melkor, whatever his name, the god of evil. That
Morgoth?
Morgoth, yeah. He had a couple different names. I might be thinking it's his elf name. But, yeah, Morgoth, built them as basically a living siege engine.
Yeah.
And so that's what they do. They go out and they attack things, until either they kill everything that that can present a threat, or they encounter something that kills them. So they're their own effective limiter for their population, which is good. Nobody wants oh yeah, it's fall. The dragons are migrating south for the winter. They come by the dozen. So yeah, no one wants that. Not even the dragons. I think they're pretty big on their own self-importance. So I think it's kill, destroy, pillage until either you run out of real enemies or you die. And so I think that's why they basically level up. They just keep on killing things.
Yeah. So I guess so they're not they are. I mean, they're physical. They have physical forms, but they're also sort of spiritual, as in or magical. Whichever one, in that they have magical source of energy to make all that fire.
And, grow despite sleeping in a pile of gold for decades. Because they're, effectively gaining mass out of nothing. And a metabolism that is somehow like a positive feedback. Although maybe, if you want to go into true interesting sci-fi there, you can say the dragon's got some sort of, fusion engine going on inside its belly. And when it breathes fire, it's just venting out the plasma energies. And it's just, taking the oxygen from the air. It's always sucking stuff in and just particle accelerating that up to whatever it needs.
Yeah.
But that's pretty sci-fi in your fantasy. I don't know if everyone wants that.
Well, I wonder too if the dragon, how they wake it up with whatever noises and stuff, before they even get in there, the dragons, it makes a noise somehow, or
it was snoring. Dragons snore.
Yeah.
Dig it.
But maybe it's very cold, almost ambient temperature, the same as the room, and then when it gets alerted, by a noise, by dwarves knocking on the door, then it sort of has to warm up for a while, and then when Bilbo finally makes it down there, he's just kind of waking up.
So it's just like when you're starting your car at 30 below zero. You don't just drive that thing around automatically. That's how you destroy your engine, buddy. Yeah. You let it warm up for a while. You get it to idle for about 10 minutes. Then once the core temperature's running fine, boom, then you get a chance to move.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. He did seem to have very good senses, because even when Bilbo was invisible, he was able to smell him. He was able to smell the gold ring. That might be a side effect of the curse of the greedy gold guts.
Well, and so the other thing I think that I'm not saying that the gold isn't cursed, but there's also this matter of the Arkenstone, and the Arkenstone seems to have a fairly major significance to it.
Well, I mean, you can think of it on the political significance. The dwarf that has that has the right to rule all dwarves, and so you better listen to him, buddy.
Yeah.
You can think about it, as a mystical thing, because it was the best, most perfect gem you're ever gonna see. Oh my God. Mm-hmm. I will say this is there has to be something more to Middle Earth than the proper baseline physics, because the dragon's getting energy from somewhere, and the Arkenstone was generating its own light.
Yeah.
So either it's radioactive, powerfully so, enough to generate noticeable light, or it's mystical to some degree. You can also make the argument that it is the heart representation of the gold hoard. Maybe it's the mountain was fine. It's okay, yeah, mine the gold. That's cholesterol in the mountain's veins, sort of thing. It's just, boy, wouldn't that be kind of nice, eh? Dwarves and mountains have a nice symbiotic relationship. The mountain gets too old without any maintenance, and you get all this gold build up inside of it, and the dwarves come and clean it out, and it's healthy mountain again. But no, it's it's okay with the gold, because it's just gold, whatever. And then all of a sudden, you take out the Arkenstone, and maybe the Arkenstone is the reason it cursed the gold. It cursed the dwarves' greediness for it.
Yeah, it could be. Although, the other side of all of this is that, do you really need a curse with just sort of human and, by extension, dwarfen nature, in the fact that once you get that kind of power, it's sort of inevitable that something goes wrong, that you get corrupt.
What could possibly go right? Maybe a little bit, but I will say there must have been something extra about it, because by most common sense standards, if you are going to be taking on a dragon that killed a fortress, citadel, like mountain home, whatever you're going to call the dwarves of Erebor there, you should probably do it with more than 13 dwarves and a hobbit. Okay, yeah, they originally planned to have Gandalf the Grey with them, but that's, still just working the numbers out in my head as I figure out the casualties going on with that, the collateral damage is just going to be so high. I just don't see that being a smart move. So the gold has to lure you in and make you do stupider things than you would normally imagine. Anyway, hey, let's figure this out. Let's apply this to D&D based terms. The concept of a magical item reward will get a lot of players to do some very stupid things. Things that they should be much smarter than. I recall, for instance, a nice anecdotal tale about the Head of Vecna. Now, the whole bit about Vecna, he's a powerful lich that winds up becoming a god, but, in his mortal life, he wound up losing his eye and his hand due to his traitorous lieutenant. And so you have, the hand and the eye of Vecna. And it's by the way, they should be the left on each, I've been told. So if you ever find someone trying to sell you the right hand of Vecna, it's a fraud. It's just a skeletal corpse hand, whatever.
Okay.
But this was the Head of Vecna. And so the players wound up chopping each other's heads off to try and put the Head of Vecna on. And as you can bet, the rules aren't explicitly in there saying if you lose your head, you die, regardless of how many hit points you've got left over. No, you dead. You're just wiped out. It's nothing. I'm home ruling this. You're dead without a head.
Yeah, okay.
We'll default to rules on vorpal weapons for this if you need to. But yeah, and so you have players effectively, doing a murder, suicide, combo ritual in the game to chop each other's heads off to it's okay, chop his head off, but then don't put the Head of Vecna on, chop my head off and put it on mine. I'll give you money for it. And so you wind up have these back, horrible deals where one person's left putting the Head of Vecna on the stump, and oh no wait, it turns out the Head of Vecna is not real. You've just killed the rest of your party. You're not the cleric, so you're in a bit of a predicament now because you've got 3 corpses and no resurrection ability. What do you do now, Mr. Fighter? So you definitely don't need there to be magic to curse something, to make people do stupid things.
Well, we're talking about fictional characters, so they sort of do whatever's...
But in good writing, they will do things in at least to them, logical progression. So you can see, bit of a stupid thing what they did there, but I can understand why they did it. And so them to decide, it's well, you know what, if we're going to die fighting the dragon, let's still kick some ass. It's
Yeah.
Well,
okay, so no, here's the other thing about that, the dwarf army was not able to defeat Smaug, even at the height of their power. So I don't see why, I think the idea of Thorin is to go in there with, that's why he takes a burglar along, because they have this idea that they're going to, secretly, sneak in and either assassinate Smaug or something like that.
Are you going to backstab a dragon? His scales were tougher than any armor. What are you going to do? Like wait for him to snore, sneak down his throat, and just beat up his heart from the inside?
I don't know if he thought ahead that far, but it's
might be
like
the
that.
effects of the foolishness of a greedy mind.
Well, except that I can't think of any scenario in which a dwarf army would be any more preferable, because obviously that didn't work the first time.
Well, then why were they going in there aside from, it's we're just going to take the Arkenstone and leave?
Actually, well, one reason I think is that they heard the rumors that Smaug was hadn't been seen in a long time. So that's what they're kind of hoping that maybe Smaug had just died or on his own or something like that.
Yeah, I sucked a candelabra up and it wound up just shredding his lungs. And it bled out there. The end.
Yeah.
Boy, wouldn't that be an anticlimactic thing, eh?
I think almost any like item that he would swallow would pretty much be melted down.
Unless, as you said, he's like a cold engine sort of thing.
Yeah,
it takes him a while before the internal fires start burning hot enough to melt gold.
Well, see, maybe the dwarves could come up with a theory. I mean, they probably couldn't come up with a theory like that, but maybe they're like, well, maybe if we catch him by surprise, while he's still cold.
What if dragons have weak hearts when they get old? We'll sneak up behind him, and then we'll all scream "boo" really loud, and then because he's asleep, he's totally not expecting it. It's been decades since he's seen anyone. Heart attack, we win.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet the dwarves did have a lot of theories on it, because one, they're resentful and with long memories, and two, they hate that dragon, and so I'm willing to bet at the end of a hard day's work, they all sit around drinking some beer and talking about like how to get rid of that dragon, even if it's just idle chat.
Yeah. And the other thing about the quest is it might not be necessarily to kill the dragon, it might just be a reconnaissance, because the kingdom has been decimated, and they used to have all these trade routes. And
I think it was more than decimated, technically.
Yeah.
More than 1/10. It's been hemi-mated. Like you lost about half of them.
Yeah. So basically, all trade has stopped, and communication has
stopped.
Well,
fish is still going, but it's not what it used to be.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And so the dwarves, their idea is to sort of, kind of, basically reconnaissance and scouting and just seeing what's going on with Erebor and with Laketown and the whole area, rather than necessarily we're going to kill the dragon, although they do talk about it.
As soon as the opportunity came up and say, well, he's awake, we might as well try and bash his head in with something. Why not?
Yeah.
And they did go in there with weapons. I mean, there was that whole scene I want real weapons, iron forged weapons. I do note that they didn't request steel, which is interesting. But that's maybe an aside for a later date. They wanted iron-forged weapons.
Maybe they wanted, heavier. I don't know what... Yeah.
I can understand for something like a mallet or something blunt, but if you're going for something sharp, you want the steel over the iron, because it's got that crystalline edge for... If you don't know the difference between edges for iron and steel, Google it up. They can really show you, especially because you can find some stuff about people as they're actually forging one. They can tell you about the crystalline edge that steel makes when iron gets allied with carbon properly.
Now, okay, so was this in Laketown that they're asking for a?
Yeah, it was one of the things that they agreed with Bard. He'd smuggle them in, he'd get them weapons and something to eat, I suppose, and then off they go to smack a dragon around or whatever.
Well, because I remember the scene where he dumps out, a load of weapons in front of him.
And they're all effectively makeshift weapons
and
because, well, he's kind of doing a rebellion sort of thing, and you got to have your makeshift weapons to keep the street cred.
Yeah, and even aside from that, the entire town has gone into decline, so they wouldn't have.
I do know it makes sense for him to have wooden weapons and makeshift over iron, because he had them stored under the water next to one of his little boat vessels, and that's where he gets them from. So if they were iron, they'd have been pretty freaking rusty.
Yeah, and the other thing about it, in the Hobbit and various parts of it, they mention when they say oh, it's elven steel, they sort of revere it. Remember when? So
you're saying it's not dwarves that hold the secret to the riddle of steel? It's the elves, and they're freaking I'm better than everyone mentality.
And I think it's the whole world of the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings is sort of that. The theme is the world in decline. It's people used to know how to build, make steel weapons, and there used to be awesome things like that. And
you think the elves would still do that, because it's not like they're going past the generations. They're still there several thousand years later. Did they just carbon? Let's get back to work. It was carbon we were missing. So let's go get some charcoal, and we'll start up with the steel smithing again, and we'll send out apologies with each new batch. Sorry, forgot the secret ingredient.
I think what might happen with the elves is I think they may have had just one guy, sort of one, smith guy that made all the
I won't
weapons.
Lie. I respect their desire to keep trade secrets as heavily secret as possible.
Yeah.
But if we've learned anything from losing what is really in Greek fire, Not good. You want to keep it within a certain amount. Have something like written down permanently, even if you say keep that away and heavily fortified, just so in the event of all living people forgetting it or dying for some reason, you can go back and check your source material, and go there.
Yeah, well, I think maybe their smith like died in one of the wars of the First Age or something like that. I don't know.
But it could also be with the elves. They just quit caring. It seems that the elves have gotten so incredibly blasé with their advanced age, they just don't give a crap anymore. It's like, oh, yeah, there's problems about goblins outside of the forest. I don't care. It's not my problem. It's somewhere else other than my realm, my woodland realm. I don't care. Just get the spiders out whenever they come back in.
Yeah, that's the elves kind of did that, didn't they?
Yeah. It turns out all you need to be a really big jerk is apathy, which is kind of a shock to me because I've always figured the world could use a little bit more apathy to prevent more tragedies from happening. It's like, yeah, you're a different religion than me. My religion says I'm supposed to hate everyone not of my religion, but I'm not going to call some sort of fatal war until we fight till one side's dead. I just don't care enough. But no, as it turns out, if you keep the mentality everywhere, the entire society goes into decline. So there goes my idea for a better world through caring less.
All right. So to cursed gold again.
Oh, yes.
Let me see.
I quite like this as a concept because if it was played right, this was a masterfully written curse. Because you don't just walk, like in D&D, you can just walk up and say, oh, I cast Detect Curse, and I look around, and all the cursed items pop up. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, yeah, but that doesn't really work out very well for suspense or, the more subtle effects of things.
Okay.
This was so well done. I mean, I completely missed it. One time reading, one time watching.
Well, I'm still not convinced it's there, like explicitly. I mean, it's just part of.
It could just be a natural curse sort of thing, which is interesting way to look at it, I suppose.
Yeah, and you can adapt that into your
if you were writing a novel about something cursed, you don't need to make it like ooh, and then this person died while holding it, and their soul was tainted with evil, so now it is cursed. Anyone holding it winds up having bad luck. No, sometimes all it needs to be cursed is cursed by knowledge. Because it also occurred to me as I'm sitting there, falling asleep, after watching it again, it's like, what if the one ring wasn't really that cursed to be like, oh, my precious, I want it? What if everyone who was doing these horrible things was aware of like the curse of it? Because, I mean, you and I watching the movie know about, like, oh, my precious, I want it, it's mine. Yeah. And so, when the ring falls next to that trapdoor giant spider there, and it's like, oh, boy, Bilbo's going to give it to him. And he goes nuts, like, yeah, stab him, Bilbo, stab him, get your precious back, yeah. It's like, I got into it. It's like, get the precious back. It's our precious. It won't be that filthy spider's. And I caught myself like, whoa, man. It's just a ring. It's not... mostly a CGI ring, too, when you're looking at it doing funny, weird things and bouncing around. Why did I get into it? Because I knew, or in air quotes, I knew about the curse of you wanting to have it. As soon as you get a hold of it, you want to keep it for yourself forever.
Okay.
Just seeing it will cause people to want it. And so that way, what if it was just like you had a concept of you're writing your own novel. It's the other ring. It's not the one. It's the other ring. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a very infamous ring. People everywhere have heard about the ring. So as soon as you touch it, you want it. And then it's not really cursed, but everyone who has it, it does have some magical power. Whatever it does, the other ring shoots out fireballs. Have fun with that. Whatever.
Yeah.
It winds up being that the people will use the curse as an excuse to let their base nature come out. And it's like, well, I'm just a passive little hobbit, but this is the cursed ring. It's been in my possession. I've worn it. This ring must be mine now. I will stab the heck out of this spider if he gets too close to it. I will just mutilate his stupid little beady eyes, every each one of them, yeah. And he uses that as an excuse to become a more vicious person because, well, it's cursed. It wasn't me. The curse made me do it. Well, it's his absolution from responsibility.
Yeah, I think that's what Tolkien had in mind when he first invented the ring, and he first sort of started thinking about, well, like, how did Gollum encounter it? Well,
Smeagol.
His name was Smeagol at the time, and he had never even touched the ring before.
I saw it.
He just all he had to do was see it, and he wanted it. And I mean, he must have been an slightly evil person to begin with, in order to be capable
maybe just
of murder.
greedy.
Well, to murder his buddy. It was his brother.
I think it was his brother. Yes. That's why their names rhymed.
Yeah.
Although, mind you, if you found someone whose name rhymed with yours, wouldn't you want to hang out with them more?
Yeah, if I knew a Smosh. That's a guy on the internet. And Tosh.
Yeah. Yeah, wouldn't you want to hang out with Tosh, Josh and Tosh, wherever you go? Josh, Tosh, and Smosh, and then you guys go marching in a line down there somewhere, We got to find 10 more people with rhyming names, and then we're off to go get magic treasure.
Okay, yeah, that sounds fun. Searching for
because I gotta say, like when I was working with a guy named Brian, sort of thing, it was kind of groovy. They just go, Ryan, Brian, and we both look no matter whose name they wound up calling out, and that was always kind of a fun little, like running joke. Call one, they both wind up looking. So yeah, okay, there's something about the rhyming names, but I do believe they actually were brothers.
Yeah. So I think Tolkien, when he originally wrote it, he was thinking more along the lines of, it's just a very pretty thing that somebody might want. He wasn't necessarily writing the whole, the One Ring, cursive.
It has the dark soul, of the evil, most. Well, the thing is Sauron was, like effectively like mortal in that he was born and all that, whereas Morgoth was a god. But it has been said about the song that Morgoth sang that was all wrong, that messed up like all sorts of stuff because he was singing out of harmony. Sauron got the song more than Morgoth did. He understood it more. So. Which one's the more evil is kind of up to debate. But yeah, arguably, this has the dark soul of the worst living thing to have ever existed in Middle-earth. And beyond.
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, we've been using the word curse, and that's fair enough. It works functionally, as a functional definition. But I'm not sure if that's quite correct, because it's not necessarily a curse. It's just the item is inhabited, or
it is a possessed ring, I suppose, is the best term for that. Yeah,
because a curse is something, it feels almost like not quite adequate. As for, a curse might be a penny that only ever lands the wrong side, or something like that. That would be a curse, but it seems like this is something bigger than a curse. But I mean, curse is
semi-possession sort of thing instead of just being cursed, and that's why Gollum winds up changing so physically. It's just like the person who winds up, like, oh, there's blood, writing on my back telling me to, get out of the house. It's like, no, this is even worse. This turned into something that was almost a Hobbit because, Smeagol wasn't actually what a Hobbit was. He was like half Hobbit sort of thing. The men of the mountain area around there were becoming hobbits through successive generations. It might
have been something like that. I think he was the size of a hobbit.
He was mostly hobbit. He was hobbitish.
Pretty much hobbit. Yeah.
But yeah, he went from hobbitish to Gollum, and so over the, and that's not just from being really really old, because the ring will keep you alive sort of thing, but it warps you. So I think possession works a little bit better than curse. Although from seeing like your I want this ring, it's never leaving my possession, and I will stab the heck out. I will even kill my own brother just to get this freaking ring. So I think curse, it works that way, just to denote the ring lust you get from it. But okay, the ring is denoted very obviously for its curse, so to speak, whereas the gold, if I'm right on this, is very subtle in its curse, and so therefore you have a nice literary, and, well, not just literary, but a nice stylistic point for showing obviously versus very subtly. It's all there. If you see it, you notice it, but you can completely glance over it and not even notice it, and you don't lose out. So like, oh, you didn't get about the curse of the gold. Well, you never really even saw the movie. You totally missed the layers of it. Why did you continue watching after that point? Ugh. No, you still watched the movie and you liked it, but this was so subtly written. You get extra out of it when you notice it. It's like, oh.
Yeah, well, I think that theme is there for people to see, is that, and it's kind of normal in our, like, we get movies about money and about how money isn't everything, sort of, like, if you're
but it's a heck of a nice start to everything.
No, but, like, a lot of our Hollywood movies now, like, will have that sort of moral. It'd be like, well, yeah, money.
Well, if they were trying to tell you that money isn't everything, why are they charging so much for every ticket? Kind of a false lesson when to get in there to learn it, you have to pay a decent amount.
Well, no, because that's you being relieved of your money. So
but they're saying money's not everything. Give it to me. Money's not everything. Give it to me now.
So why do you care? You should just give me all your money.
Well, if money's not everything, I'll watch it for free, and I'll take some of your money too. It works both ways for the story. So I always find those lessons to be hollow at best.
Yeah. Sure.
There are some people who say, it is the lie that the rich tell the poor to get them to be happy with being poor. Say, oh, don't worry, you don't have a lot of money, but money's not everything, as I sit upon my beanbag chair of dollar bills. So yeah, I don't know how much that moral actually works, per se. But these two things work very interesting because in D&D they don't really have rules for this subtle curse and how to tell the story of a cursed item that doesn't, radiate cursed, like under the guise of the proper magical identification stuff.
Right. That's sort of the realm of the narrator and the DM as storyteller, sort of.
But you think, over the course of what's now coming into 5 generations of D&D products, there would have been at least one splat book saying how to tell proper themes about stuff like curses, because let's face it, D&D does have a very heavy heart basis in with the Tolkien stuff. They had a lot of problem with rings that turn you invisible. There's a reason why they're called halflings and not hobbits. And if I'm not mistaken, originally Rangers received a bonus to the ability to use crystal balls because of Strider's connection with the Palantir, which is actually a noble thing and not actually his class, but, like his birthright. But yeah, that got dropped because it's a little weird.
It's too close? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that and it didn't really play out with the rest of the theme, so as they're going through the next couple of editions, they're like, well, do we really need this? Can we really fine-tune this into one core concept and not just like, dude, you're playing Strider? Awesome! So yeah, they had a very close start to it. So you think something would have been, and they're like, okay, you want to tell a nice story, a nice theme to work with the curse, here's what you can do, here's some nice stuff, because they have worked with, like, oh, you want to tell a story about a dungeon, you want to tell a story about the desert, how about the Arctic wastelands, here's all this wonderful stuff to help you out, but they haven't done anything with a theme on curses the same way. For them, it's always like a 5% chance any random magic item you find in a horde is a cursed item of some sort. Don't forget to roll randomly. But not a lot of people actually wind up doing. I think I've only had one technically cursed item in the game, any game that I've played throughout the years for D&D. And thinking back on it right now, you know what? I really enjoyed the curse based on the character I was playing. So it wasn't really cursed. It allowed me to do what I wanted. In which case we go back to the natural curse being the theory of the absolution of responsibility.
That's interesting.
So it's like, no, it's not my fault I did these horrible deeds. I was cursed. I had to. The curse compels me to do these things. Which works into some interesting things about, no, I was possessed at the time. Can't blame me for it. Don't worry, I'm better now. I'm all possession-free. It's the way to be. So what do you think about that, though, is telling a story with a curse, being not the item itself, but the curse being the nature of well, in this case, humanity, and its inherent weaknesses.
Well, that's the problem I've sort of a little bit been struggling with, but I think I'm following you, like, because it's such a vague, it's hardly even a curse in that way. It's just sort of maybe like there's some fate involved, like, what's going to happen, and I think there's been some writing on like fate and you know your adventures and like what's sort of destined to happen and.
Oh yes. There's been a lot more talk on fate versus free will in playing your pen and paper games than there is on the natural curses and utilizing the player's innate. We'll just come out and call it greed in this case. But it would be their natural greed for the loot, because let's face it, that is one of the premises of D&D. Find something powerful, kill it, take its money, repeat.
Well, and playing on the player's greed it doesn't seem that profound of a concept. It seems like that would be almost the first thing a DM would go to. They're like, oh, what's the player's motivation? Oh, well, they're greedy, so I'll put in this very tempting item, you know, maybe with some strings attached, possibly. But
see, that's why I keep getting back into Ravenloft, is that's what they do. You know, it's basically like, oh, you really want this? You really want this? How far are you willing to go to get it? How far are you willing to go to get it? And then they wind up doing like a bait and switch sort of thing. So you get what you thought you really wanted, only to find yourself in a prison of everything you hate. This life is miserable. I don't get what I truly want.
Well, okay, so I'll tell you why you might not have seen that as much in role-playing games, and that is sort of role-playing games are designed so the idea is you can win, like, and that's where, you know, things like Ravenloft and Call of Cthulhu turn that on their head, because they're like, well, no, it's not about winning the game, it's about seeing what happens to the characters, or, you know, seeing what they do when faced with these unwinnable situations. Whereas sort of your core D&D experience is that you encounter an adversity, you roll a die, and you probably, if you fail the die roll, well, you roll again, and you're destined to succeed in D&D. So I suppose, that sort of adding in a curse or adding in those negative elements is like going against the grain, which is novel.
Perhaps you could see it as a conflict of the two main story styles. Is you have almost like your points-based one, like you're playing a Super Mario game, where it's like, oh yeah, you know, I got so many coins, or like, and that's your point score that's going up in the corner. Despite the fact that points really don't mean anything, it's just to show you how awesome you are, right?
Yeah.
Because you jump on the flag at the right point, and you get like, 5,000 points, you know.
So D&D, it seems to be XP, seems to be that, and levels.
It's
right?
XP, XP, and from that the levels, and to another point, like the sweet, fat purple loots you wind up getting.
And the actual, the gold and stuff.
Which, it works itself into most, online MMOs. You want this, the item with the biggest numbers attached to it. Despite the fact that really isn't, a conventional thing, because the other main part of the story of like a role-playing game is to tell a story.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we didn't get any gold, we didn't, wind up going up 10 levels, but we did save the orphanage from the tiny baby ghouls or something. I don't know.
Ghoul.
Yeah, little tiny baby ghouls sort of thing going on there.
Yeah. Because D&D isn't necessarily World of Warcraft, where you're in a sort of arena and you're sort of funneled into getting better and better and better at a thing. D&D,
and yet sometimes you can wind up playing a campaign that's effectively go to a dungeon, kill stuff, loot it, leave, repeat with a tougher dungeon. And you know what? Sometimes that's all you really want. Sometimes a nice hack and slash game is just right. Hits the mood, shows that you've got your tactics up here and you're having fun because it's a fast, paced environment going on. Different kind of monsters, change your style up. And there's not much to a story besides, I suppose this is the tomb of an ancient evil king, and he really didn't deserve, any of the money he had with him when he died and had it buried, so you get to take it guilt-free, I suppose. Versus, the storylines about you finding out the truth of the ancient evil king. It's like, turns out it wasn't really him. He was backstabbed the night after his coronation by his evil twin. His evil twin ruled the whole time, and therefore the king's name should be clear, and it was his evil, sibling that wound up besmirching his good name. In which case, you'd go into a tomb. You're not looting stuff. You're looking for clues. Here, it's like, this tells a bit here, and I can tell from this ring here that was given to the brother at this time. Why is it on the king's corpse? And thus I can prove, if I tell it to the rest of the world in this little dissertation, the king's name is cleared. It was his evil brother the entire time. So yeah, and I think that would be a perfectly fine story to tell. And you wind up getting, I suppose you could give experience points for finding the right clues to put everything together. That's just what we call cream on the coffee sort of thing. Icing on the cake.
Yeah, and like stories, like we tell like I don't know, the thing about storytelling is that when you tell a story about a person, like a character, like here's a guy, and here's what happened to him, and here's how he changed. So it's all about that character changing, and like D&D tells a story about that change might just be
he got bigger, better, and awesomer.
And yeah, we don't talk a lot about sort of how his personality changed, if that even is a thing, or how.
That's the thing is I do have a character in my mind. It's like, I want to try this, and this, and like see, hey, I could get 20 attacks before I go into the epic levels. My God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And that was one thing, but then I'm thinking about, it's like, well, he starts off here, like, hey, how different is he over here at, at like level 20? And then it occurs to me, so I could tell a story where he starts off as just a simple brute, just smacking things, big blunt stuff, and he winds up learning to use with more finesse, because, to get the amount of attacks, he'd wound up like 6 arms, and so he'd have to have really high dexterity. And so it'd be from him going to an unthinking brute to this masterful, just like the living embodiment of martial prowess. And it's like, I could tell a really amazing story about such a character. Oh, my goodness, that would be wonderful. So sometimes it might just be that the lack of a character changing is the lack of the player plotting out a planned course of events, which I think is nice for the DM. Like, if you come to tables like, this is the guy I'm playing, here's my plans for him. And so that way the DM could know, like, I can work with this. I can do some notes here. He's probably going to a nice mentor here, so I could do a nice little, like, mountain retreat up here. And that's a wonderful site there, and they'll save it from harpies or something. And that'll be a nice little side bit on there, and then I can start weaving a story. And so, when you go back and forth between the player and the DM that way, the DM, like, almost has the story right itself. All they have to do is like, put all the threads together into a tapestry.
Yeah.
All they have to do, yeah.
And then the DM has to deal with basically 4 of those people. Yeah,
well, and that's how everything weaves itself together. It's like, these 2 work here at this point. This works nice here, and that all works very nicely. I like that.
Well, and then
it doesn't quite work here, but I can do a spot here and then focus on that, and then you start rearranging, and then effectively the DM has it planned out. The players have stuff planned out, and provided no one dies because they failed, their poison saving throw stuff, you can have that character progress and become a different person. Well, if everyone wants to be that in the end. Like I said, though, sometimes just a hack and slash where, I'm more powerful than ever before, I've leveled up.
I will say, like, my preference, though, like, that's fine, and actually, no, I don't like planning ahead with my characters. Like, as a DM, I see the importance of planning ahead and sort of seeing where the players are likely to go. But as a player, I really would rather not know where my next level is going to be. Sort of, I like to just find out what the character is, where the character is going to end up.
Oh, well, that comes from the other end of the perspective sort of thing, because I'll see it as like, wow, I like this prestige class, so I'm going to need this, and that to make it work, because I want to try this prestige class out. This really intrigues me, so I'll get a guy to go on that way. So you're playing it looking forward, I'm playing it looking backwards. So I have the character at 20th level, and he's like almost reminiscing about his adventures sort of thing, whereas you're playing forward. You're the guy just wandering down the trail. Who knows what happens next?
Yeah.
The world of possibilities is open for you, and I think both of them are very wonderful ways to play.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But yes, going back though to the storytelling versus the points-based one, we see a lot when it comes to cursed items. Being points-based, like, oh no, you touched this item, and if it's an evil item, and if you're good, you have 1 negative level as long as you hold it, and your hair changes color once per day, or whatever weird little fun curses. Because some of the fun curses you roll randomly are pretty nice, sort of things like, oh hey, your skin is purple, it doesn't wash off. You're gonna have to get decursed if you don't want to be the purple-skinned, like people eater, whatever you're gonna call yourself now. But there's not as much, if anything, really told about the items more cursed by nature and by the more subtle effects, the stuff that doesn't have stat-based stuff. The Head of Vecna, so to speak.
Yeah, well, it's just hard to quantify that sort of thing, right?
It is hard and more challenging, but when you get it right, it's much more rewarding. Because you can bet the Dungeon Master who planted the Head of Vecna for the players to find was just inside. It was like the hills are alive, dancing around in a meadow and all that. He's just, everything's come to fruition. I've guessed the horrible, short-sighted greed of my players wonderfully.
I don't. Well, maybe they thought, but if I was
admit it, there's a little bit of Schadenfreude in everyone, and that's the sort of thing that's like, oh, that's so beautiful. That's just, no one's going to believe. They're going to think I made up this story. It's just so over the top.
Well, yeah, the Head of Vecna has made the rounds, so it's hard to use that in a D&D campaign nowadays and have players be sort of not expecting it. Although some groups will be like, well, no, maybe this time.
It doesn't detect magic when I cast detect magic on it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it must be really powerful to disguise its aura, such like that. It's hugely powerful. We got to chop our heads off now, guys. Initiative for who gets to chop their own head off first.
But yeah, to be honest, I don't see the DM having that big of a role in that. I think it's just, I would imagine it might have even been an offhand comment, just sort of, or maybe some NPC was like, oh, I know, I'm going to make some money and I'll just pull something out of thin air and just pull a story and say, it's the Head of Vecna. And then from there, you don't even have to, the DM is like, okay.
He's just a passive person, rolling off. So say, okay, well, you got the initiative. You chop your head off first.
Yeah, and then the players just do their thing. And
sometimes that's the best part of being a DM, is when everything just kind of rolls itself through and the players provide their own game.
You say it's the best part. I can imagine a DM just sitting, watching in horror, being like, this is not what I wanted, you guys. They sort of, because I would put that in, I would expect the players not to take that bait. I would be like, and there's no way they're taking that. And
if there's one thing I've learned from being a DM, it's that if you think the players will never take it, there's almost 100% chance they'll take it. I remember, what was it, the Minds of Madness adventure? They did for playtesting some of D&D Next, before it was officially 5th edition. And you're supposed to go into the mines and, beat up the stuff, and make your way and come out with, what was it, the ability to become immortal or something like that, something magical. There's a MacGuffin down there.
Okay.
But there's an outhouse just before you go into the mine. And, if you go into there, purple worm comes up and eats you, and well, there goes that player. And the DM basically told us he's never run a campaign where the players didn't go into the outhouse first, and we'll have one of them wind up dying. It's called the Minds of Madness. Go into the mines and do something, but no, everyone stops off at the outhouse just to poke and prod and check it out first. And it always happens, he says. Every time he's played it, they've always gone to the outhouse first. No one's gone into the Minds of Madness to start off the adventure in the Minds of Madness.
Might have something to do with the way the DM is describing the outhouse, too.
I don't know, because, if you're thinking about this from a logical perspective, it's like, how good does the outhouse have to be described to make somebody want to go in and prod in an outhouse?
It's not about being good. It's just whether it's the first thing out of the DM's mouth. It's like, okay, so you're walking up a trail, you see an outhouse. I go to the outhouse, because as the players, they want to be, proactive.
But, logically, you'd have to, it'd be like a wonderful outhouse, something so grand, and it's like, oh my goodness, I hear it's an outhouse that flushes, and it's like, we live in a pseudo-medieval world, a flushing outhouse has got to be like the pinnacle of technology, let's go in and check it out, and it's all marvelous, I flush it twice, woo! No, it's just an outhouse. He mentions an out, you're standing in front of the open mines, there's some shale off the side, there's the rubble pit over there, and an outhouse about 20 feet away, let's go to the outhouse! Because, if you expect the players to just ignore it and go on to, the prime adventure, they will, that's almost a reoccurring joke in Knights of the Dinner Table. You can find a lot of their stuff up for free if you hit their website, and they publish the free stuff every once in a while. But it's almost, like a running gag, the BA will, the Dungeon Master, he announce something just, on the side, and then that is all the players do. They don't even get to the town. It's there's a cow out in the field. One cow? This place is being attacked by 4 hit die creatures. What's this one cow doing alone in the field? And they'll be like, okay, I'll go into the field, but you guys have to cover my back. If anything happens, you gotta be there to protect me. And so the guy will jump over the fence, and the guy will shoot down a bird that's flying by overpass. Poof! Bird goes down dead. I got your back, buddy. It's like, oh yeah, good, smart. We'll get him yet. We'll figure out what's up with this cow. And they'll wind up smacking the cow around and testing it for magical properties and just basically torturing a cow for the entire adventure evening, as they just do nothing, because the guy described one cow in a pasture to describe the pastoral setting as they go towards town.
Yeah, except that they did have a point with there's 4 hit die creatures, so maybe the DM just made a mistake, sure, but you can't, as a player, you can't be like that. You can't.
Well, you can assume that maybe that's why there's only one cow left in the field.
Well, it would be metagaming to say, oh, well, obviously the DM just made a mistake, so we can just ignore that. No, if you're thinking like your character, you know what's going on in that world, and you know that there's monsters around. They would have eaten that cow. So that makes sense to me. And that's sort of the whole thing about, the players going to the outhouse. That's that's sort of what players are conditioned to, like I said before,
exploring everything that gets mentioned, sort of thing. Eh?
Well, be proactive. Like, players are supposed to seek out the adventure, because the game is no fun if players are just like, well, whatever, that's probably nothing. Because so often what happens in D&D is the DM's like, I'll hide the secret trap in the outhouse. and then the DM is kind of disappointed when the players are like, whatever, an outhouse, we don't care. So players are like conditioned to be like,
okay, I will grant you that. I mean, we've all played enough video games to say, oh yes, the warp whistle is in the castle in 1, 2, and you got to fly up there and you can't even see it, but you can go over and push up to enter the door. Super Mario Brothers 2, I believe it was.
Right.
No, 3. Sorry, 2 is where they're falling asleep and having a dream tale. But so yeah, everyone has played enough of those sorts of games where it's like, oh yes, you got to poke and prod every nook and cranny to find all the secrets. And a lot of DMs are like, oh, I had wonderful secret doors, and like they're not searching any of the corridors, or they're not searching for traps, they're not searching for secret doors, they're not searching for any of the stuff. Why? Why did they miss all the best hidden secrets and stuff just because they were going from A to B? So, okay, I will grant you that.
So there's 2 sort of extremes that you can go to, and you have to find out what the optimal way to play the game, and I think the best way to do it is to sort of be immersive and think, like, what would my character do? And that's why I'm saying, like, investigate the cow if your character would, because that's a fun...
I think their characters are all effectively crazy. The way they treat NPCs, they are probably some of the biggest psychopaths in the game world.
Could be, yeah.
So there's something to be said about that. But
well, that's another, like, when do players sometimes choose strange moments to be like, no, my character would definitely do it that way, and other times it's like, well, I'm just playing the game and metagaming all.
Yeah. But in this case, though, the Minds of Madness, the outhouse is cursed. Any stats to it? No. But the outhouse is intrinsically cursed, not by spells, but by the mortal mind itself. The mind of anybody that would play such a twisted pen and paper role-playing system is going to investigate this trapped outhouse.
Okay, so...
Da-da-da-dun!
You're saying this is sort of...
Because if the gold in Erebor is not cursed, is then like the mountain itself cursed the dwarves for their greed and mining it hollow, sort of thing. This is the curse of the dwarven and the greedy mind. That's the curse that's there. It's not magical. It's purely mortal, and I suppose technically draconic.
Yeah. Well, except like now you're saying like it's a curse in real life because it has to somehow affect the players themselves, the in real life players.
It curses the players, not just the characters.
Okay, so it's a real life curse.
Or you could call it a curse. You could call it an exploit. You're exploiting the nature of the gaming mind.
Yeah.
So you could wind up doing that sort of thing. You could have this is the mansion of 1,000 secret rooms. It's a 10 by 10 square. It's completely unadorned. What do you do? And that way you get them paranoid and you're having everyone search every room, every hallway, taking 20 in every little spot there. just to help exploit their mind and waste more time because, well, you only had enough to really write about half an adventure tonight.
Right.
So you're also going to throw in a rumor about doppelgangers being present, so everyone's like hooked up, like, and they're making sure everyone's like 10 feet away and they're all like connected via one length of rope, so no one goes like missing and gets replaced by a doppelganger. So yeah, but I really like the concept of exploiting the frailties of the mind of the player, sort of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Because it does work the other way. I remember in Dragon Magazine they had Up on a Soapbox, which had Mr. Gygax himself telling wonderful stories about his adventures. And he had built this wonderful dungeon, and it's like a wing off of Castle Greyhawk. One of the ways, like if you go the right way out of it, will take you like to the other side of the world. Magic gates and all that sort of thing. And, this is back in the day when you could have one-person adventures all the time. And so the one person goes through there, takes every right turn, boom, and then all of a sudden he's on the other side of the Greyhawk world. Didn't take a single wrong path. It's almost as though he followed it perfectly, like he knew. And then, Gygax was thinking, wow, that's a really, really, like the number of potential areas you could have wound up with, that's a pretty slim chance. And then later he's playing the same wing of the dungeon with another guy, single-player adventure. The two guys, that were playing these two characters, no conversation between them. They hadn't had a chance to chat. So I think a different night of the week, and they just never, dropped by for brews or anything saying what they'd done. And he takes the exact same path through the dungeon and finds himself on the other side of the world of Greyhawk. And that's when Gary Gygax realized they knew the mind of his dungeon creating, mindset. And so they were able to, consciously or subconsciously, know which ones were the paths that would lead to dead ends and traps, and which one was the one that would wind up leading to the end, in this case, of the dungeon. In which case they managed to exploit his mind, just by virtue of that they knew and had gone through enough dungeons with him to say, no, that's going to wind up going off into a trap end. This is a dead end of things sort of here. This is the way I'm likely to want to go because, their characters survived long enough to be able to go into these other adventures.
I am suspicious of that. I suspect that it's possible they snuck a look at his notes or did collaborate somehow.
Gygax apparently in the thing swears that was not the case. He had kept everything very secret and hush-hush. It's just that they knew his style. They knew how he did his dungeons because they had mapped enough of his dungeons out. They had effectively picked up the little, I guess they're tells. Kind of like poker. And so they picked up the tells when he was speaking about like which ways to go, or they picked up like he does more of an S-shaped sort of thing for his pattern. So you don't always take the straight route. You don't always do the left-hand rule sort of exploration. You want the best stuff, get to the end. S-shaped stuff. So you always like, take a left, take a right, take a left, take a right. That's how you get through. Or whatever system they did for it. And so they managed to find, like the weakness in Gygax's formula.
Well, now, actually, in some ways I think this might work out because as a DM, that might actually be kind of useful to have those little, like to even consciously give little hints as to, the correct direction, like, the air smells fresher that way, or something like that. Or, the floor
where it worked for Gandalf, follow your nose, right?
Yeah. But also, it's funny thinking about that, too, because dungeons are, like, sort of the original, I don't know, the original dungeon, like the
concept of it.
The concept of dungeons are designed spaces, and not all of them are designed to be mazes. So a lot of the time, you think of it as architecture. Architecture is intended to be traversed, and you're supposed to get from one end to the other. And
mind you, it doesn't always work as logically as you'd expect, even in real life. Like, you take a look at your wonderful apartment here, and you have rooms that, there's a hallway that leads off to rooms. But have you ever seen a shotgun shack? I take it from your pause you have not seen a shotgun shack before.
No.
You don't need a shotgun to go in there. It's not, like, super dangerous. But all the rooms are, in a line. If you want to go from the kitchen to the dining, to the dining room, you go through the door. But if you want to go from the kitchen to the living room, you got to go through the dining room. You want to go to the bathroom, you got to go through the dining room, through the living room to the bathroom. There's no hallway where everything branches off from. It's all just like one doorway, series on the side of these rooms, one after another.
Okay.
And so if you were to go in there, that would not make sense to you based on your knowledge of architecture.
That's true. Yeah.
So this one, would wind up confounding you and possibly just angering you a little bit. It's like, why don't they have just like a single hallway and put everything around it? Turns out they had room for long spaces, not enough for a hallway. I don't know. It's not a popular style anymore. There's a reason why, if you're Googling it up as you're listening to us talk, you haven't seen one before. It was never very popular. It was very unpopular all the time because, sometimes to get out to the back porch, you have to go through the bathroom. Someone's using the bathroom, you can't get to your back porch.
Yeah.
Weird style.
And you see, now that you bring that up too, you see some of those, like, on the internet every once in a while, like, of bad design, especially, like, bathrooms where you can't
open the door fully because it hits the toilet.
Yeah, a door will hit a toilet, or the toilet paper will be too far to reach, or the doors are, like, super high up or something like that.
You can't even properly sit down on the pot because there's the bathtub in the way, and so if you're a person that's not like a skin and bones sort of person, you basically have to kick your feet up onto the bathtub to use the bathroom.
Yeah. So that'd be. And I remember, like, UNBC had a few, like, little quirks. Like, there would be a weird pillar, like, in a place.
Like right in the middle of nowhere. What's going on with this? It's a support pillar to make sure everything stays right.
But it's like they thought about the roofs before they.
They considered the roof and the textile, the architecture instead of the actual ground-based layout, which makes a little bit of sense given what I've heard about why they decided to put things where they are and how things are shifting now. But c'est la vie, right?
Yeah, and I remember one place in the university where I guess there's an air vent or something above it or something like that. And there's always an air current, like, going through a certain door. Do you remember that?
I remember hearing about that. I never hunted it down. I do remember when I went to my high school. It was a new high school, just built for us, and it was wonderful, except that the air conditioning system they had also connected up with the kiln. So whenever the kiln was in operation, everyone would start coughing because... dude, there's hot kiln there blowing through the vents. All of a sudden, the air conditioning is no longer working properly. It's blasting out charcoalated, air for everyone. And they wound up having to do a repatch on that because you couldn't do any of your clay works in the art project class. And that's brand spanking new architecture for the late 90s sort of thing. Actually, mid-90s, I believe, is when it was.
Yeah.
It's like, well, nice work. That was fresh. You should have been able to catch that one. So... architecture doesn't always follow the best logic. Sometimes people overlook things. But in this case with Gygax is that they knew his architectural stylings.
Yeah. I just am imagining a dungeon in which several of the doors don't open all the way. Because I kick open the door. Well, it hits a pillar. There's a pillar there. I don't know why they put a pillar there, but.
Chaotic builder. Although I would be intrigued to take a concept for a simple dungeon layout and then effectively work up, we've redesigned it, and then you change things around and then see if it doesn't get an older style to or look to it. And that way, because dwarves do have that wonderful ability to sense newer architecture stuff versus old, and I've never used that. So a place that has multiple levels of architecture-based stuff, at least get the chance to utilize that role or say, this is newer than the other wall. And he's like, oh boy, I finally got to use that racial ability. It doesn't mean anything, but I got to use it. So, in this case, though, Gygax, was just such a nice designer for his Gygaxian dungeons. I mean, this was supposed to occupy months of adventure time as they take different routes and explore and all that. No, bam, out. And in which case, the dungeon was cursed by the limitations of Gygax's architectural stylings compared to that of his player's knowledge base.
Yeah, okay. Although, how do you take this lesson now and apply it to
a
your
non-magically cursed MacGuffin or item.
Yeah, because all of these curses that you're thinking of, you sort of recognize them after the fact. It's like, oh, well, that was kind of interesting that it was.
Or you might even not see them as a cursed item. Like, I can't believe I fell for it. You had it like a carrot on a stick.
So, is there a way to anticipate this, or is it just impossible?
Well, you'd have to know your characters. You'd have to know your players and how well they differentiate. Some people are when they go in there, they are their character, and so it's like, oh no, I would like to get a lot of gold to level up and do all this stuff. But my character is an aesthetic monk, and by that I mean he likes to look at architecture, and see what's on the designs on the wall. And so I will not quickly rush on to the next room to kill things. I will take a look and see what's going on here and there. And that's what I mean by an aesthetic monk.
I remember,
ignore my pun.
I caught that. I played with another player once who played a wizard who took like etchings of or rubbings, charcoal rubbings of everything
things,
of almost anything she encountered. It was always.
I had a character that would always try and get the names of anyone he wound up killing.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one. Yeah.
I can remember that campaign a lot better because of that. That was a very nice way to keep things in my mind, even over the course of over a decade now.
Yeah.
So I think this is one that, this non-magical curse concept is something you're going to have to really focus on the players to see if they're going to, bite at the bait, so to speak.
Yeah, and are you trying, are you actually trying to inject some sort of wealth is cursed theme, or do you just sort of play with it and see what happens?
Sometimes it is fun to see how far they're willing to go to get what they want. Like if you have a paladin and the concept of this paladin of getting a holy avenger, that should be a pretty powerful lure for any player. The character might say, oh, it is just and right for me to have, and I suppose I should try for it. Meanwhile, the player's like, dude, paladin, holy avenger, I need this sword. This is the sword of paladins. Come on, guys, we're doing this dungeon. And so you could just use that as the carrot on the stick for that.
Okay.
Wizards, you can use the Lost Tome of such and such a wizard. Contains some interesting spells. It came from the Splat book. I know you're really digging the Splat book, and it's a little bit overpowered for me. But tell you what, there's one of the spells in there. I won't tell you which one, but there's one of the spells in the Splat book in this wizard's book. You get it. I'll let you play with it. It's all yours. And so that way, that's the lure to get them to do these stupid things that would otherwise, it's like, no, dude. We'll take an extra couple, like weeks as we build a nice proper, suspension bridge to get over here, and that way we don't have to jump a 10-foot chasm every time we want to go across this room.
So you are kind of playing a metagame, and I guess that's the thing with curses, with the curses that we've been talking about, the super curses or the
statless curses.
Yeah, it is sort of a metagame, in that you're telling the players. You're attracting the players in addition to attracting the characters themselves.
It doesn't necessarily need to to be like as I said, a MacGuffin that's very physical. If the character has like a nice character backstory, oh, I'm looking for my abducted sister sort of thing, or whatever family member, and then all you have to do is it's like, oh, and then you've heard mention of them here sort of thing. Oh, they might be in this one here, and then you can like lure them in towards that sort of thing to help fulfill their personal goals.
Although I'm kind of tempted in some ways. Like I would like to run a campaign one day where the players they each hand me their page or page and a half backstory, and the very first adventure we're like, yep, you find your long lost relative, you find that tome you were looking for, you find your old mentor, and you find I don't know, whatever you were looking for.
You find the magic weapon.
And it's like, okay, now what? After level 1, you're level 2 now, and you've all achieved your goals. What do you do now?
I'm thinking sitcom. We take the mentor, we take the family member, we take the wizard studying his wonderful little spell book, and we take the fighter who's now practicing on his new fancy shiny weapon, and they're all living in an apartment together.
And monsters come over.
Well, in this case, I suppose it might be tax collectors and other fun stuff like that. People either wanting to talk to the mentor and all that, and it's like, oh, the mentor could totally do this if only he was to have a few herbs to help cast that high-level divination spell. You can find him in the sewers. In which case, yeah, you can actually write the adventures like out of that central base sort of thing. But it would be nice to actually see that the closure just provided that easy and simply, and just to see what the players do. I won't lie, that would be intriguing to see, especially from a meta perspective.
There's a curse for a campaign for you.
The curse of your goal actually being fulfilled. Oh, there goes my motive. Huh. Although, mind you, I do recall one campaign I was in where everyone was related to each other. Not always directly. Like, my character was a half-elf. He had a half-sister that was full elf. But he also, because of a wandering bard and his high charisma score, he also had half-siblings in a full human and a half-orc. And they formed the 4 party members. So each technically had their relation. It was like, yeah, it was we call ourselves the legacy of the lusty bard. and so in which case it was really just explore the land and see how many other siblings we wind up having. Even though the full blooded elf didn't have any other siblings, still connected to her half-brothers, so, all together.
Yeah.
And so it actually wound up being something that it's like, okay, yeah, we found another one, but we're not certain if it's the last. Let's keep on adventuring, keep on wandering. What else is there over the next hill and dale? So there's something to be said about those completely open and impossible to fill goals, too.
Yeah.
Is that, yeah, okay, you found like your long-lost half-sibling, half-dragon. Woo! Turns out the bard had a really high charisma score to be able to seduce a dragon.
I've heard that dragons aren't that hard to seduce. Or like they usually do the seducing.
I've been told, thanks to the Drorse, the dragon horse, that you can get a dragon drunk fairly easily, and in which case their morals just go right to the gutter.
Right, because dragons, the pillars of the community, normally.
Well, in this case, it was like a half-gold dragon horse, so you'd expect them to have a little bit more decorum, but apparently you get a gold dragon drunk, and they get randy. Well, it explains why, you see the half-dragon template applied to so many creatures. But yeah, I mean, you take the I've met my goal sort of thing. I found that, the half, sibling, and then it's like, well, let's expand from that. How many others are there? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, I've found my mentor, but what of the tombs of the mentors? What have they left behind? What did they take to the grave with them?
Yeah.
And
well, that's true, because the mentor might have additional quests for you after that, yeah.
There's a nice golden exclamation point above his head that's floating.
Yeah, that's how it works in WoW. Yeah.
So yeah, you could actually wind that to see who's willing to take their goal and go further. Like, yes, I found my long-lost dad. I hear the rest of my family is pretty big and sold off into slavery, and they're all over the world now. Let's just go on exploring there. Let's free everybody and hope they're family members. So yeah, it'd be nice to see how many players are willing to go just for that one bit, and how many players are willing to use that as like a leaping point for bigger, better things.
Yeah, cool.
And that way you do gain a better insight as to the character and the player, and that allows you to...
and they can grow, and
that gives you the better insight to getting these statless curses.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go.
Well, I went this whole time without mentioning our email address, which I should get in, thesimulationist@gmail.com. You can write to us. You can also comment on our Facebook page, and you can like it if that's a thing that you do, and write things on it. And you can write comments on the YouTube channel. Let me see, facebook.com/thesimulationist, youtube.com/thesimulationist. Basically, type the Simulationist into something. If we're not there, send us a message at the Gmail, and we'll go on to another.
We'll do what we can.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there was a splat book about how to work these sort of statless things into a game, I would love to hear about it. So if you know about it, if you know about some obscure third-party thing, I'd like to know. Send the information my way. That's my curse. That's what I'm always jumping at. The prospect of more knowledge, the good obscure stuff.
Yes, very good.
There you go.
And I tweet, or sometimes, occasionally tweet, at SpaceBoot1 on Twitter. And so you can send me tweets, or follow me, or ask me to follow you if you also tweet interesting things, and that sort of thing. Okay.
Dig it.
So yeah, that's our facial media, our Facebook media, our social media.
Facebook, facial, socialbook.
And I guess we should see if there's any final. Do we have wrap-up thoughts on?
Well, okay. I consider the stat-filled curses to be low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
The rules are there in the book. You can fudge your 5% rolls to make sure it happens and see how well the players react to it, which is a nice testing of the water. If you're planning on a statless curse, put in, it's a nice magical weapon, but it has one of those little drawbacks or thing. It's not just pure, fun and games. Sometimes there's a weird little side effect for it. See how well they react to that. If they're okay with that sort of thing, by all means, go on for the statless-based stuff. The statless stuff is the high-hanging fruit. It is the juiciest pear, so to speak. If you can get it, if you can do it right, it's magnificent. It's the sort of thing you will remember till senility takes all your memories away. But that said, it's the sweetest fruit because it's also the hardest to get. Worth the effort. Up to you in the end to decide whether or not you're going to go that way. And whether or not it's even the right theme for your campaign. I mean, if you're doing like a game based on Diablo 2, probably not, sort of thing. You can wind up doing almost everything with proper stat-based curses, and effectively, it's like, okay, you lose control of your PC, and they're now an NPC. Sorry, you lost control. If you're working for a little bit more storytelling-based sort of campaign style, definitely at least consider it. And that's all we can ask you to do, is to consider.
Cool.
So yeah, that's been our thoughts for this week.
That's been our thoughts. I've been Josh Treletti.
I've been Ryan Kirker.
And send money.